Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Best English Podcast. I'm your host, Sophia, and today I am absolutely thrilled to have you join me today. If you're new to our channel, I want to say that you didn't find us by accident. You're here because you want to grow, to learn, to become a better version of yourself, and you're not alone on that journey. We share meaningful educational videos every single day because we believe that a little knowledge shared with love can truly change lives. So if you're ready to take that next step, to learn something new, to feel inspired, and to believe in your own potential, then stay with us. Subscribe and let's walk this path of growth together. One day at a time. Have you ever been in a conversation in English, feeling excited to talk, but your mind just goes blank? You hear what the other person is saying, you understand the words, but then a long pause follows. Inside your head, a frantic process begins. You take their English words, translate them into your native language. Think of a perfect reply in your language, and then begin the slow, careful work of translating your reply back into English. By the time you are ready to speak, the moment has passed. The conversation has moved on, and you are left feeling frustrated and a little bit behind. If this sounds familiar, please know that you are not alone. This is one of the biggest challenges that English learners face. It is like trying to run a race with heavy weights tied to your feet. You are working twice as hard as everyone else, just to keep up. This mental translation, this constant back and forth between two languages, is the invisible wall that stands between you and true fluency. It is what makes conversations feel stressful instead of fun. It is what makes you hesitate, doubt yourself, and worry more about grammar than about connection. But what if I told you there is a way to break down that wall? What if you could learn to think directly in English? Imagine a conversation where the words just flow. You hear English, you understand it instantly, and you reply in English, naturally and without hesitation. It is not a special talent or a secret magic trick. It is a skill, and just like any skill, you can learn it. It is a journey, a process of retraining your brain. And today, we are going to take the very first steps on that journey together. In this very special, very detailed episode, we are going to dive deep into this topic. We will not just talk about tips, we will explore the why behind the problem and the how of the solution. We will use stories, examples, and simple practical exercises that you can start using today. This will be a longer conversation than usual, so find a comfortable place, relax, and get ready to change the way you use English forever. We are going to stop being translators in our own minds and start becoming natural, confident English thinkers. Let's begin by understanding where this habit of translating comes from. For most of us, it started in school. Think back to your first English classes. How did you learn new words? Your teacher probably stood at the front of the room, pointed to a picture of a cat, and said the word cat. Then, the teacher would say the word for cat in your native language. The connection was made in your brain. English word equals native language word. Apple equals, well, whatever apple is in your language. This method makes sense at the beginning. It is a fast way to build a basic vocabulary. It feels logical and organized. We learn lists of words. English on one side, our language on the other. We memorize them for tests. We learn grammar rules by comparing them to the rules of our own language. This system, however, builds a foundation on translation. It teaches our brain that English is not a separate system for thinking, but a code that needs to be deciphered. Imagine you are building a house. This method is like building the entire house with instructions written in a different language. For every single step, for every brick you lay and every nail you hammer, you must first stop, pull out your instruction manual, translate the step, and then do the work. It is slow and inefficient. Now, imagine if you learned to build a house by simply watching, doing, and understanding the purpose of each tool and each action directly. That is the difference between translating and thinking in English. Let's meet a friend of ours. We'll call him Alex. Alex was a great student in his English class. He always got top marks on his vocabulary tests. He could translate long lists of words perfectly. He knew all the grammar rules. He felt very confident in his abilities within the classroom. Then, one day, Alex had the opportunity to speak with a native English speaker for the first time. A tourist was lost and asked him for directions. The tourist spoke quickly, with a friendly smile. "Excuse me, I'm a bit lost. Can you tell me how to get to the central station?" Alex's brain immediately went into classroom mode. He heard the words, "Excuse me, lost, how to get, central station." He understood each piece. But then the translation machine started. His brain took those English words and translated them. Then, in his own language, he thought about the directions. Okay, he needs to go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left at the big post office, and the station is on the right. It was a simple set of instructions. But now came the hard part. Alex had to translate his thoughts back into English. Go straight for 2 blocks. He remembered the word blocks. Then turn left. He searched for the word for post office. He pieced the sentence together in his head, word by word, checking the grammar as he went. While Alex was doing all this mental work, the tourist was just standing there, waiting patiently. A few seconds felt like an eternity. Alex finally opened his mouth, but he was so nervous about making a mistake that he spoke very slowly. "You go straight." The tourist nodded, but Alex could see a little bit of confusion in his eyes. The natural flow of conversation was broken. What should have been a simple 2-sentence exchange became a stressful and awkward experience for Alex. He knew the answer, but he could not deliver it naturally. This is the translation trap in action. It creates a delay, a buffer, between hearing and responding that makes real fluid conversation almost impossible. To truly understand the problem, let's visualize what is happening inside your brain. Think of your brain as a busy office with different departments. When you listen to someone speaking your native language, the process is very efficient. The sound comes into the ear department. It is immediately sent to the meaning department, where you instantly understand it. Then, your thinking department creates a response and sends it directly to the mouth department to be spoken. It is a straight, fast line. Now, let's see what happens when you are operating in translation mode. The English words come into the ear department, but they cannot go to the meaning department directly. First, they must be sent to the translation department. This department is full of dictionaries and grammar books. It looks up each word, figures out the sentence structure, and converts it into your native language. Only then is the message sent to the meaning department. Now you finally understand. But the process is only halfway done. Your thinking department creates a response in your native language. This response then has to be sent back, all the way back to the busy translation department. The translators there get to work again, converting your thoughts into English words, choosing the right vocabulary, and trying to build a grammatically correct sentence. Finally, this translated message is sent to the mouth department. Look at all those extra steps. The message has to travel back and forth, getting processed and reprocessed. It is no wonder there is a delay. It is no wonder you feel tired after a long conversation in English. Your brain is doing double the work. This inefficient process is not only slow, but it also strips the language of its life and emotion. When you directly understand, "I'm so excited," you feel the excitement. When you have to translate it first, you understand the information that the person is excited, but you might miss the feeling. Language is more than just words. It is about connection, emotion, and culture. The translation process often filters all of that out, leaving you with just the dry, technical information. Our goal is to shut down that slow, overworked translation department and build a direct superhighway between the ear department, the meaning department, and the mouth department for English. Let's explore this with another story. This is about a woman named Maria. Maria was very smart and qualified for a great job at an American company. She had an interview scheduled over a video call. She spent weeks preparing. She practiced answering common interview questions. She wrote down her answers in her native language and then carefully translated them into English, memorizing them. She felt ready. The interview began. The interviewer, a friendly man named David, started with some simple questions. "Hi, Maria. It's great to meet you. How are you doing today?" Maria's brain kicked into gear. She heard the question. She translated it. "He is asking how I am." She remembered her prepared answer. She translated her prepared answer back into English. "I am fine, thank you. And you?" It came out a little stiff, a little robotic, but it was correct. So far, so good. But then, David tried to make a small joke to lighten the mood. He said, "I'm doing great, though I could really use another cup of coffee. This is my third one today, so I'm flying pretty high right now." Maria's brain froze. Flying pretty high? Well, what did that mean? He wasn't in an airplane. Was this an idiom? Her mental dictionary had no entry for this. The translation process failed. While she was stuck on this one phrase, trying to figure it out, she missed the next thing he said. A wave of panic washed over her. She had prepared for questions about her work experience, not about flying and coffee. The friendly, conversational part of the interview was a disaster for her. She couldn't keep up. Every time David said something unexpected or used a casual phrase, her translation machine would jam. She would pause for too long. Her answers became short and simple because she was afraid of trying to translate complex ideas. She knew she was smart. She knew she could do the job, but she couldn't communicate it. David, the interviewer, only saw someone who seemed nervous, unsure, and who struggled to communicate. He didn't see the brilliant mind working overtime behind her eyes. He just saw the long pauses and the simple sentences. Maria didn't get the job. Her language skills on paper were excellent, but in a real, dynamic conversation, the habit of translating let her down. This is not just about casual chats. This habit can have a real impact on our careers and our lives. The problem doesn't just show up in high-pressure situations like job interviews. It can happen anywhere, even in a simple, everyday moment. Let's imagine a man named Leo. Leo is in a coffee shop in the United States. He has been practicing his English and feels ready. He walks up to the counter. The barista, a young woman named Sarah, smiles at him and says, "Hey there, what can I get for you today?" Whoa. Leo has rehearsed this. He knows what he wants. He says, "I would like one large latte, please." "Oh, perfect." Sarah smiles and starts making the drink. As she works, she tries to be friendly. She looks at the book Leo is carrying and says, "Oh, I love that author. The Midnight Library, right? Such a great read. What did you think of the ending?" And just like that, Leo is in trouble. His brain was prepared for a simple transaction: order, pay, receive coffee. It was not prepared for a conversation about literature. The translation machine starts whirring loudly in his head. First, translate her question. She liked the book. She is asking what I thought of the ending. Okay, he understands. Now he has to form an opinion in his own language. The ending was a little predictable, but I found the main character's journey very emotional and inspiring. Now, the hard part: translate this complex thought back into English. The ending was a little predictable. What's the word for predictable? He searches his mind. But I found the main character's journey. What is the best word for journey here? Path, trip. Very emotional and inspiring. While Leo is having this internal battle with vocabulary and grammar, Sarah has already finished making his latte. She's now looking at him, waiting for an answer. The silence stretches. It becomes awkward. Leo feels the pressure. He finally gives up on his complex sentence and just says, "It was good." Sarah just nods, a little confused by his short response after such a long pause. "Cool. Well, here's your latte. That'll be $5.50. Osshorse, sar." The chance for a real human connection was lost. Leo walks away feeling disappointed in himself. He wanted to share his opinion. He wanted to have a nice chat. But the translation process was too slow, too clunky. It forced him to simplify his thoughts and made him seem less interesting and less friendly than he really is. This happens millions of times a day to language learners all over the world. We have rich, complex thoughts in our minds, but the translation filter allows only the simplest version to come out. Now, let's think about a group conversation. This is often the most difficult situation for someone who translates in their head. Imagine you are at a party or a dinner with a group of native English speakers. They are all talking, laughing, and interrupting each other. The conversation moves at the speed of light. Someone tells a story. By the time you have translated the first half of the story, they are already at the punchline and everyone is laughing. You smile and laugh too, even if you're not quite sure what was funny. Then, someone asks a question to the group. You have a great idea, a perfect point to add. You begin the translation process. You hear the question, translate it, form your opinion in your native language, and start building the English sentence in your mind. But while you are doing this, two other people have already jumped in and answered. The conversation has already changed topics. They are now talking about a new movie that just came out. Your brilliant point about the previous topic is now old news. It feels like you are on a train platform, and the train leaves without you, over and over again. This experience can be incredibly discouraging. It can make you feel invisible, like you are not really part of the group. You start to become quiet. You stop trying to participate because it is just too much work, and you are always a step behind. You might start to think, my English is not good enough, not, or I'm too slow. But the problem might not be your English level. The problem is the process. Native speakers do not translate. They think and speak in a single, fluid motion. To join the conversation, you need to learn to do the same. You need to get off the slow-moving translation train and get on the high-speed express of thinking directly in English. So, we have talked a lot about the problem. We understand why translating in our heads is so limiting. It's slow, it's stressful, and it prevents us from expressing our true personalities. Now, let's shift our focus. Let's talk about the solution. How do we actually start thinking in English? The very first step has nothing to do with words or grammar. It is a mindset shift. You have to give yourself permission to be imperfect. When you were a baby learning your first language, you made thousands of mistakes. You said words wrong. You used incorrect grammar. Did your parents correct every single mistake? Probably not. They were just happy you were communicating. You need to adopt that same attitude towards your English learning now. The goal is communication, not perfection. When you are trying to think in English, you will make mistakes. The sentences in your head might be simple or even grammatically wrong at first. That is perfectly okay. It is a necessary part of the process. Let go of the fear of making mistakes. Embrace the messiness of learning. This mental freedom is the fertile ground where thinking in English can begin to grow. Now for our first practical strategy. It is simple, powerful, and you can start doing it right now wherever you are. We are going to build direct connections in your brain between objects in your world and their English names. We are going to completely bypass your native language. I call this the object labeling method. Look around the room you are in right now. Pick one object. Let's say you see a chair. I want you to look at that object, see its shape, its color, its legs, its back, and say the word chair out loud. Just chair. Do not think of the word for chair in your language. Erase it from your mind for just a second. The physical object you are seeing, that thing you sit on, is chair. The connection is now object arrow English word, not object, native word, English word. This is a crucial difference. Let's practice this together. I'll guide you. Look around you again. Find something else. Do you see a table? Look at it. See the flat surface. Say, table. Good. Now find a lamp. See the light it produces. Touch it if you can. Say, lamp. How about a window? Look through it. See the world outside. Say, window. What about the device you're using to listen to this? Is it a phone? Hold it in your hand. Feel its weight. Say, phone. Or maybe it's a computer. Look at the screen. See the keyboard. Say, computer. Let's follow a character named Chloe as she starts her journey with this method. Chloe decides to dedicate 10 minutes every day to this exercise. She starts in her kitchen. She picks up a fork. She doesn't think of its name in her language. She just looks at the fork, feels its sharp points, and says, fork. She does the same with a spoon, a knife, a plate, and a cup. She moves to the living room. She looks at her comfortable sofa and says, sofa. She points to the television and says, television. She walks over to her bookshelf and touches the books, saying books. At first, it feels a little strange talking to objects, but Chloe sticks with it. Every day for 10 minutes, she walks around her apartment naming things in English. After a week, something amazing starts to happen. When she walks into the kitchen to make breakfast, she no longer sees the object and thinks of its name in her native language first. She sees the object, and the English word cup just pops into her head automatically. She has created a new neural pathway, a direct link. You can do this anywhere. When you are walking down the street, you can look at the trees, the cars, the buildings, the sidewalk. When you are at the grocery store, you can name the apples, the bananas, the milk, the bread. This is not about memorizing vocabulary lists. It is about experiencing the world directly in English, one word at a time. It's the very first step in making English a part of your reality, not just a subject you study. Once you feel comfortable naming single objects, you can level up. You can start making very simple phrases. Chloe, our friend in the apartment, is now ready for this next step. Instead of just looking at the cup and saying cup, she now says a short phrase. This is a cup. She looks at the window. The window is big. She sees her keys on the table. My keys are on the table. Notice how simple these sentences are. We are not trying to write a novel. We are building the most basic connections. Subject, verb, object. The goal is to get your brain used to forming these simple English structures automatically. Let's try it together again. Go back to that chair you identified earlier. What color is it? Let's say it's brown. Now, form the sentence in your head, and if you can, say it out loud. The chair is brown. What? Let's go to the table. This is a wooden table. Now the window. I see a tree through the window. Don't worry if the sentence is perfect. Just the act of creating a simple descriptive phrase in English, linked directly to what you are seeing, is a powerful exercise. You are teaching your brain to observe and describe your world in a new language. You are starting to build the foundation for an English-speaking mind. This brings us to our next powerful strategy, which is a natural extension of the object labeling game. It is about taking that internal process and making it continuous. This strategy is about narrating your own life in English, inside your head. We all have an inner monologue, that voice in our head that is always talking, planning, and commenting on things. We are going to consciously switch that voice to English. This might sound difficult, but we start small, just like before. Let's follow a new character, David, through his morning. David has decided to try this technique. He wakes up. The very first thought in his head is usually in his native language. But today, he makes a conscious effort. He thinks in simple English. It is morning. I am awake. I need to get out of bed. He swings his legs over the side of the bed. He thinks, the floor is cold. He stands up and stretches. I am stretching. I feel tired. He walks to the bathroom. He looks in the mirror. That is my face. I need to brush my teeth. He picks up his toothbrush. This is my toothbrush. I am putting toothpaste on the brush. He starts brushing. I am brushing my teeth. Every simple action is accompanied by a simple English thought. David continues this as he goes to the kitchen. I am hungry. I want to make breakfast. I will have eggs and toast. He opens the refrigerator. Where are the eggs? Ah, here are the eggs. He takes out the bread. This is bread. I will put it in the toaster. At first, David finds this requires a lot of concentration. His brain naturally wants to switch back to its default language. Sometimes he doesn't know the word for something. For example, he looks at the coffee maker and realizes he doesn't know the word for the little paper thing he puts the coffee in. He makes a mental note of it. Later, he can look it up. He learns the word is filter. The next day, when he makes coffee, he thinks, I need a coffee filter. This process not only helps him think in English, but it also helps him discover the gaps in his vocabulary that are directly related to his own life. Let's practice this right now. What are you doing at this very moment? Try to form the thought in simple English. You are probably thinking something like, I am listening to a podcast. A woman named Sophia is talking. She is teaching me to think in English. What will you do after this podcast is over? Think about it in English. I will get a drink of water. Or, I will go for a walk. Or, I need to cook dinner. Keep the sentences simple. The complexity will grow over time. The important thing is to start the habit. By narrating your daily life, you are turning your entire world into an English classroom. You are making English the language of your own personal experience. The next strategy is about creating an immersive English environment around you. We often think we need to travel to an English-speaking country to be immersed in the language. But with modern technology, you can create a powerful immersion experience right where you are. A very simple but incredibly effective way to do this is to change the language setting on your smartphone. Think about how many times you look at your phone every day. Dozens? Hundreds? Every time you unlock it, you see words. Slide to unlock. Wart. Enter passcode. Wiped. You see the names of your apps, messages, calendar, photos, settings. You get notifications, new email from, missed call from. By changing your phone's language to English, you are giving yourself dozens of tiny English lessons every single day, without any extra effort. Let's meet Isabella. Isabella was nervous about changing her phone's language. She thought, what if I can't find anything? What if I get confused? But she decided to be brave and try it for just 1 week. The first day was a little challenging. She wanted to change her alarm, and she had to search for the clock app instead of the word she was used to. But because she already knew where the app was on her screen, she found it easily. She saw the word clock and the image of a clock, and a new direct connection was made in her brain. A few days later, a friend sent her a message. The notification said, "New message from Daniel." She learned the word message, or she wanted to check the weather. She looked for the weather app and saw the word weather. Over the course of the week, Isabella learned words like settings, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, brightness, wallpaper, and so many more. These are not words she would have studied in a textbook, but they became part of her vocabulary because she was using them in her daily life. She was learning through context and repetition. After the week was over, she didn't even think about changing it back. It felt normal. She had successfully turned her phone into a passive English learning tool. You can extend this concept beyond your phone. Change the language of your social media accounts, your email, your computer's operating system. If you play video games, try playing them in English. At first, it might slow you down a little, but your brain will adapt very quickly. You are surrounding yourself with the language, making it a normal and unavoidable part of your day. This constant exposure helps to keep your brain in English mode and strengthens the new pathways you're building. Building on the idea of immersion, our next strategy is to change how you consume media. Most of us listen to music, watch movies, or follow series on platforms like Netflix. This is a huge opportunity to immerse yourself in English. But we need to be intentional about it. There is a difference between passive listening and active listening. Passive listening is when you have an English movie playing in the background while you are doing something else. It can be helpful for getting used to the rhythm and sounds of the language, but it's not the most effective way to learn. Active consumption is when you engage with the content. Let's start with music. Find an English language song that you really love. First, just listen to it and enjoy it. Then find the lyrics online. Read the lyrics as you listen to the song again. You will start to connect the written words with the sounds you are hearing. Look up any words you don't know. Now, for the most powerful step, sing along. It doesn't matter if you are a good singer. The point is to try to make the same sounds as the artist. This is amazing practice for your pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. You are training the muscles in your mouth to produce English sounds. And because you are doing it with a song you love, it doesn't feel like work. You are connecting the language with emotion, which makes it much more memorable. Now let's talk about movies and TV shows. This is a favorite method for many learners. We can go back to our friend Maria, who struggled in her job interview. After that experience, she decided to get serious about improving her conversational English. She chose her favorite American sitcom, a show she had already seen many times in her own language. This was a smart move because she already knew the story and the characters, so she could focus on the language. First, she watched an episode with English audio and subtitles in her own language. This helped her connect the English sounds with their meaning. The next time, she watched the same episode with English audio and English subtitles. This is a very powerful combination. It connects the sound of the word to the spelling of the word. Her brain was processing the language through both her ears and her eyes. When she heard a phrase she liked or didn't understand, she would pause the show. She would repeat the line out loud, trying to imitate the actor's accent and emotion. She kept a small notebook and wrote down interesting new phrases, like the one that confused her in the interview, flying pretty high. So, she looked it up and learned it was an idiom meaning very energetic or excited. Through the context of the show, the meaning became clear. After she felt more confident, she moved to the final step, watching with English audio and no subtitles at all. This was the most challenging part, but also the most rewarding. It forced her to rely completely on her listening skills. She didn't catch every single word, but she could follow the story. She was training her brain to understand English directly from sound, without any text to help. This process, moving from subtitles in your language to English subtitles to no subtitles, is a fantastic way to improve your listening and start thinking more naturally in English. So far, all our strategies have been about building a foundation. Now we are ready to move on to some more advanced techniques that will really accelerate your journey to thinking in English. This next one is about the tools you use. I want you to find your bilingual dictionary, the one that translates English words into your native language and back again. Now, I want you to gently close it and put it on a high shelf where it's difficult to reach. From now on, that dictionary is for emergencies only. We are going to replace it with a new best friend, a monolingual English dictionary. A monolingual dictionary is one that is all in English. It gives you English definitions for English words. This might sound intimidating at first. You might think, if I don't know the word, how can I understand a definition full of other words I might not know? This is a valid concern, which is why I specifically recommend a learner's dictionary. These dictionaries, like the Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary or the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, are designed for students. They use simple, common words in their definitions. Why is this so important? Because using a bilingual dictionary keeps you stuck in the translation loop. Every time you look up a word, you are reinforcing the habit of connecting an English word to a native language word. You are strengthening the old, slow pathway in your brain. When you use a monolingual dictionary, you force your brain to stay in English mode. You are learning to define the world within the English language itself. Let's go back to Leo from the coffee shop. He wants to improve his vocabulary. He comes across the word ambitious. In the past, he would have looked it up in his bilingual dictionary and found the one-word equivalent in his language. But today, he uses his new learner's dictionary. He looks up ambitious. The definition says, having a strong desire to be successful, powerful, or rich. Leo knows all those words. Strong, desire, successful, powerful, rich. Instantly, he understands the meaning of ambitious by connecting it to English concepts he already knows. He is not translating, he is understanding. Furthermore, reading the definition often teaches you even more vocabulary. The example sentence in the dictionary might be, he is a very ambitious young man who wants to be the company's president. This shows him how the word is used in a real sentence, giving him context. He might see synonyms like driven or aspiring. In one simple act of looking up a word, he has stayed completely within the English language and has learned far more than a simple one-word translation could ever provide. This shift from a bilingual to a monolingual dictionary is a huge leap forward in your journey to thinking in English. Our next advanced strategy is about changing the unit of thought. When we start learning a language, we tend to think word by word. We piece sentences together like we are building with individual Lego bricks. I want to go to the store. Native speakers don't think like this. They think in chunks or phrases. I want to go is often one single unit of thought. To the store is another. These chunks are groups of words that naturally go together. To start thinking in English more fluently, you need to start noticing and learning these chunks. Instead of learning the single word interested, learn the chunk to be interested in. Instead of learning the word look, learn the chunks look for, look at, look after, and look forward to. These chunks are the real building blocks of the language. Chloe, who started by labeling objects, is now ready for this. She starts paying attention to these chunks in the podcasts she listens to and the shows she watches. She hears phrases like, on the other hand, at the end of the day, I see what you mean, and makes sense. She doesn't break them down and translate each word. She learns them as a whole unit with a single meaning. She starts practicing this in her inner monologue. When she's getting ready to leave her apartment, instead of thinking, I need my keys, She practices the whole chunk. I need to grab my keys. When she's about to leave, she thinks the chunk. I'm heading out the door. This makes her internal voice sound much more natural and fluent. Let's practice a few chunks right now. Think of the phrase, by the way. So, don't translate it. Just think of its function to introduce a new, slightly unrelated topic. Now, imagine a conversation and think of a moment you could use it. Maybe you're talking about work and you think, by the way, did you see that new movie? Another one, never mind. Sarkawasara. Think of the feeling of this phrase. It means, forget it, it's not important. Practice using it in your head. What was I going to say? Oh, never mind. By focusing on learning and thinking in these chunks, you will start to build your English thoughts in a way that is much closer to how a native speaker thinks. Your mental sentences will become more fluid and natural. Now let's talk about a fun and practical technique that I call the what-if game. This is all about preparing your brain for future conversations. Most of the conversations we have in a day are somewhat predictable. If you are going to a restaurant, you will probably be asked what you want to order. If you have a meeting with your boss, you will probably talk about your work projects. The what-if game is about imagining these future conversations in English before they happen. David, our friend who narrates his morning routine, has a big presentation at work next week. He is nervous about the question and answer session at the end. So he starts playing the what-if game. He sits at his desk and thinks, what if someone asks me about the project budget? He then practices answering the question in his head in English. The budget is on track. We have allocated funds for all major phases of the project. Then he thinks, what if they ask me about the biggest challenge we faced? He prepares an answer. Our biggest challenge was coordinating with the international team, but we solved it by implementing weekly video calls. He is not memorizing a script. He is simply exploring possibilities. He is activating the English part of his brain and getting it ready for the topic. When the day of the presentation comes, he feels much more confident. The questions might not be exactly what he practiced, but his brain is already warmed up. It is already in English mode. And the vocabulary and phrases related to his project are fresh in his mind. He doesn't have to start the slow translation process from scratch because he has already done the pre-thinking. You can use this for anything. Going to the doctor? Imagine the conversation. What if the doctor asks about my symptoms? You can practice saying, I have a headache and a sore throat. Going to a party? What if someone asks me what I do for a living? You can prepare your answer. This simple act of prediction and mental rehearsal makes a huge difference. It reduces anxiety and allows you to enter conversations feeling prepared and more able to respond naturally and spontaneously. We have covered a lot of ground and learned many powerful strategies. But the most important strategy of all is consistency. None of these techniques will work if you only do them once. Thinking in English is a habit, and building a new habit takes time and daily practice. You are literally forging new pathways in your brain. It's like creating a new path in a dense forest. The first time you walk it, it's difficult. You have to push branches out of the way. But if you walk that same path every single day, soon it becomes clear and easy to follow. The old path, the translation path, will slowly become overgrown from lack of use. but the idea of practicing every day can feel overwhelming. That is why our next strategy is the 5-minute rule. One-shot. Don't tell yourself, from now on, I will think in English all day, every day. 1. That's too much pressure, and you will likely give up. Instead, make a much smaller promise to yourself. Promise that you will dedicate just 5 minutes every single day to consciously thinking in English. Isabella, the one who changed her phone language, decides to use this rule. She sets an alarm on her phone for 8 a.m. every morning. The alarm is labeled Think in English. When it goes off, she stops whatever she is doing and sets a timer for 5 minutes. For those 5 minutes and only those 5 minutes, she must think only in English. Sometimes she narrates what she is doing, like David. I am making my bed. I am folding the blanket. Other times, she plans her day. Today, I need to go to the supermarket. I will buy milk, eggs, and bread. Sometimes her mind goes blank, and she just repeats simple phrases. The sky is blue. This is a new day. It doesn't matter how simple or complex her thoughts are. The only rule is no translating. Because it is only 5 minutes, it never feels like a burden. It is easy to do, even on her busiest days. It's a small, achievable goal. After a few weeks, she finds that it's getting easier. She often continues thinking in English even after the 5-minute timer goes off. The habit is starting to form. She might increase her time to 10 minutes, or she might just stick with 5. The duration is less important than the consistency. 5 minutes every day is far more powerful than 1 hour once a week. This leads us to our final and perhaps most transformative strategy. It is the bridge between thinking in English and speaking in English. This strategy is to talk to yourself out loud in English. I know it might feel strange at first. You might worry that someone will hear you and think you're crazy. But if you can find a private space, like in your room, in your car, or when you're home alone, this practice can do wonders for your fluency. When you think silently in your head, you don't have to worry about pronunciation or the physical act of forming words. But speaking is a physical skill. You have to use your tongue, your lips, and your vocal cords. Talking to yourself out loud is practice for this physical act. It connects the thoughts in your head to the words coming out of your mouth, completing the circuit from thought to speech. Let's check back in with all our friends. Alex, who froze when the tourist asked for directions, now practices giving directions out loud when he's walking his dog. To get to the park, you go straight and then turn right. He says it with confidence, even though no one is asking. Maria, getting ready for her next job interview, doesn't just think about the answers. She practices saying them out loud in front of a mirror. She watches her own mouth as she speaks, and she gets used to hearing her own voice saying professional English phrases. Leo, before he goes to the coffee shop, practices his order out loud at home. Hi, can I please have a medium iced coffee? He even practices potential follow-up questions. How's your day going? When you talk to yourself, you are your own best practice partner. There is no judgment. There is no pressure. If you make a mistake, who cares? You can correct yourself and try again. If you are not sure how to pronounce a word, you can look it up and practice it over and over again. You can describe what you are doing, just like in the inner monologue exercise. But this time, say it aloud. Okay, now I am chopping the vegetables for the salad. These are tomatoes, and this is a cucumber. You can read a book or an article out loud. This helps you get used to the flow and rhythm of English sentences. You are building muscle memory for the language, making the act of speaking feel more and more natural and automatic. So, we have been on quite a journey together. We started by understanding the translation trap, that slow and frustrating process that holds so many of us back. We saw how it affects us in job interviews, in coffee shops, and in conversations with friends. Then we began to build a new way forward, a path to thinking directly in English. We started small by labeling the objects around us, creating direct links between our world and the English language. We learned to narrate our own lives with an inner monologue in English, making the language a part of our daily experience. We created an immersion environment by changing the language on our phones and by actively consuming English music and movies. We threw away our bilingual dictionaries and embraced the power of learning English through English. We started to think in chunks and phrases, not just individual words. We prepared for future conversations with the what-if game. And most importantly, we committed to being consistent with the 5-minute rule and started to bridge the gap between thought and speech by talking to ourselves out loud. Each of these strategies is a tool. You can pick and choose the ones that work best for you. The goal is the same: to make English less of a foreign code to be deciphered and more of a natural language that you can live in, think in, and express yourself with. This journey is not an easy one, and it does not happen overnight. There will be days when you feel like your brain is defaulting back to translation. That's okay. Be patient and kind to yourself. Every time you consciously choose to think a thought in English, no matter how small, you are strengthening that new neural pathway. You are one step closer to your goal. Imagine yourself a few months from now. You are in a conversation. Someone asks you a question, and without thinking, without translating, a response just comes out. It feels easy. It feels natural. You are not just speaking English. You are living it. You are sharing your thoughts, your ideas, and your personality freely and confidently. This is not just a dream. This is an achievable reality, and you have already taken the most important step by deciding to start this journey today. Thank you so much for spending this time with me here at Best English Podcast. I hope you found our deep dive into thinking in English helpful and inspiring. If you did, and you don't want to miss our next episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. And for an extra reminder, please turn on your notifications. That way, you'll be the first to know when a new lesson is ready for you. Keep practicing, be patient, and remember that every small step you take is a victory. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking with you again soon.